Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to share with you 4 key strategies I think you should consider implementing right now in case of an economic collapse within the next 6 months to a year. Okay, let's get started. Now listen, I've been through this 2 times in my business career where the economy has tanked. And I can tell you, I helped out thousands of people preserve their assets, even though we went through a huge economic downturn. And I also saw other individuals who didn't have this advice, this information, didn't follow these strategies, that unfortunately went through a ton of stress. Some of them even were bankrupted as a result of bad decision making. Well, here's the thing. When it comes to planning for an economic crash, you need to look at 4 aspects of your personal life to ensure that those assets cannot be taken by a creditor. So what am I thinking of right now? First thing you need to be concerned about, your savings account. So your savings/stock account. So if you have a brokerage account or a savings account that's in your name, what I want you to do is get it out of your name and put it into an entity to ensure that if you get sued personally. Now you're wondering, why would I be sued personally? Well, come on, let's just think about it. Someone could sue you because you've entered into a lease agreement that you no longer need and you want to walk away from because your business is experiencing problems. Or maybe it's a situation where you have a loan that you've taken out that's now readjusting because it was an ARM when you first applied for that note several years ago. Now you're looking at that interest and you're thinking, I can't pay that. So you try to walk away from the property. So the bank comes after you. Or you're just involved in a car accident. You actually run into someone who is unemployed and they look at you as, hey, I'm going to be able to get some money off of this person. Or what happened recently, one of my clients is involved in a lawsuit right now because the person they sold the house to didn't do a good enough job on the home inspection and now is coming back against them saying that my client owes them money because of things that their inspector missed. It doesn't matter. The point is this. You don't want to keep your savings account or your brokerage account, personal brokerage account, in your own name because if somebody gets a judgment against you, all they have to do is garnish that account. That means go to the lender or the bank, go to your broker, serve them with the notice of judgment against you, and then those financial institutions will hold those assets for your creditor. So here's what we do. We take those assets there and we move those into a limited liability company. I like to use Wyoming. I set up an LLC in Wyoming because this LLC here has strong charging order protections. That's what you should be looking for because the risk that we're most concerned about here with the savings and stock is what we call outside risk, right? Outside. That is, you're going to be sued personally in the event of an economic downturn. Things go wrong, they come after you. I don't want them to take your savings account or your investment account. I want to get it away from your creditors. The best way you do that is you get it out of your name. All right, what is the second thing we want to protect? That's going to be our personal residence. Okay? We want to protect our personal residence. And the thing about, why do I say that? Because unless you live in a state such as Florida or Texas that has an unlimited homestead exemption, if somebody gets a judgment against you, maybe they can't collect here, so instead they're going to collect here by filing that judgment in the county in which your house resides. Now, here's the thing that most people miss when it comes to judgments against their personal residence. Judgments against you only stick to assets that are held in your name. So if you have a personal residence, don't keep it in your name. We want to get it out of your name and put it into an entity that still gives you all the benefits of being a homeowner. That is 121 capital gain exclusion, being able to write off your property taxes. So we have to make sure that we have an entity set up for that, but at the same time doesn't appear under our name. So what do we do there? So with the personal residence, what I want to do is I want to set up a land trust. Okay, or what I call a personal residence trust. Okay, they're very similar in nature, and the reason I use land trust is because most people are familiar with that. But the residence trust is very similar. You want to set up this trust here and get the property out of your name and put your residence into this residence trust. Now, by doing that, if somebody were to sue you and a judgment's entered against you and they record the judgment in the county where they think you're living, it's not going to touch this property because your name's no longer on it. The property is going to be held in the trust name. And you don't have to set this up with the state. It's a private document. You come up with any name you want for it. We could call it the Red Bird One Trust. Really simple. In fact, you could make this LLC here if you wanted the trustee of that trust. So your name is not associated with that property. Now, does it change anything with your lender? It will not affect your personal, the loan on your personal residence, your mortgage, your home mortgage, all that stays intact. All the tax benefits of home ownership stays intact as well. But what we're doing is we're getting the property out of your name. Now, the third issue that I see in an economic downturn, this has to do with people who are business owners, all right? So you got to reduce business assets, all right? Reduce business assets if you have an active business. So there's a situation I saw a number of years ago. We went through the last economic downturn where I was dealing with a business owner, had his LLC set up here, taxed as an S Corp, and this individual was sitting on $1 million in cash, was sitting inside of that business. And you know what happened? His business got sued. Why did his business get sued? Well, why do businesses get sued? Because you have ex-employees that you have to let go because your business has gone down. So what do when they can't find another job? They go after someone they know that has money, and that's you. So they sue your business. They bring claims against it. Now, whether or not those claims have merit, that's still put at risk what you've built up inside of here. So if you think you're being smart by stockpiling cash because of an economic downturn inside of your business to get you through the tough times, you're not. You're being actually stupid by doing that. Here's what you should be doing. You should be drawing down that cash, putting it into this LLC that we've already set up to protect our personal savings account. You put all your cash in here, or a lot of it. So in this case, I would probably draw this down, leave $100,000 in there, put $900K down here. I'm going to show you a magic trick now, what you can do to get that money back into your company, but put you in a better position. So what we do is we put that $900,000 into our LLC that we own and control. And then when our business needs the money, we turn around and we loan the money back to our business. So quit contributing assets to your business. That's the mistake that I see with business owners. When they go through an economic downturn, they throw cash into the account or they move money into the business from their personal account. You don't want to do that. You want to loan the money to the business and preferably loan it from a Wyoming limited liability company. And then when you loan it to the business, I mean, you could loan that $900,000 the very next day. That is, transfer it back in with a loan agreement, but then you want to file a UCC1 financing statement against that business that you own. What does that do? That ensures that all the cash in here, it secures it for this company right here. So if your business were to get sued, creditor comes up and say, well, this business, we got a judgment against it for $700,000. We're going to take $700,000 in cash out of your account. Whoa, you got to step back here. There's someone standing in front of you, what we call a secured creditor. That is this Wyoming LLC, and it's owed $900,000. In fact, when we pay off that Wyoming LLC, there's nothing left for you and your client. Simple strategy that so many people miss, or they try to put this in place when it's too late, when they're already under threat of litigation. So if you're a business owner, draw down your assets, recontribute them, and use a UCC1 financing statement to protect your assets. Now, the fourth thing that I would tell you has to do with your rental property. Okay, if you have rental property and it's still in your name, get it out. All right, get that rental property out of your name, get that property moved over here in some limited liability companies for asset protection purposes, because if anything goes wrong with those properties, and I'm not talking about the property burning down or somebody getting hurt. Typically what's going to happen is you have tenants, and maybe a tenant loses a job because of an economic downturn, and then you go in, and of course, what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to bring an unlawful detainer action to evict that tenant. Well, no one wants to get evicted because they don't have any money, they have nowhere to go. So what's the best way to forestall an eviction process? Turn around and sue the landlord. What kind of claims can they make? Oh, simple one is discrimination. I would start with that, or harassment. They'll just load it up. There are plenty of attorneys out there. They have pre-printed forms that they use, complaints that they just serve against landlords, listing out all types of damages that their client has sustained as a result of either your action or your inaction. Why do they do that? Because it stops foreclosure. And they say you owe their client now money. So you don't want to be in a position where you're owning that real estate and you're having to fight that claim personally, because if they are lucky and they do hit the jackpot, then that judgment's going to hit you. Better to be in a situation where that property's in an LLC, so it goes against the LLC. Just like my client realized now, who's being sued on a piece of property that they sold to these, unfortunately, two attorneys. I mean, I should put number 5 here. Don't sell property to attorneys because they got nothing better to do than sue you. But here's the thing. Sold the property to 2 attorneys out of an LLC. Now the attorneys are suing the LLC, alleging some claims, which are all BS. But here's the funny thing about it. My client, she's going, do I have any liability? I said, no, the LLC sold them the property. What does the LLC own? Nothing. In fact, the LLC was dissolved about 6 months after the sale, but the attorneys are so lazy, it's just a shakedown lawsuit. They don't even know the LLC is dissolved because they didn't do their homework. See, that's what happens typically in an economic downturn. People start throwing lawsuits all over, and if you've got assets in your own name, it's probably going to stick to something. Take these simple steps, get those assets out of your name, and protect yourself. Hey, if you want help doing that, sign up for a free strategy session with Anderson. Check out the show notes. I got a link in there. All you have to do is click on the link and schedule that out. We'll be able to sit down with you and walk you through how to set it up to make sure your assets are protected if we have another economic downturn.